Welcome to On the Issues. I'm Councilman Jim Waring, and joining me today is Debbie Moak, the Director of the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family. Debbie, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you having you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I thought this would be just an interesting show for our viewers who may not know a lot about the department, of which you're the director for about 14 months.
Yes, that's correct.
Since Governor Ducey came in. I think it got renamed. So you want to talk maybe a little bit about that and some different functions it has?
So apparently the history of this agency began with the Symington administration that he made me aware of recently. The governor did rename our agency about 6 months ago, adding faith under our agency as well. So our agency currently procures tens of millions of dollars, primarily in federal grants, but some state funds as well, to work on issues around substance abuse, domestic violence, human trafficking, juvenile justice, and even some of the child welfare is coming through us now as well. We also are home to 8 of the state's councils and commissions, as well as the state epidemiology work group. And just recently, the governor added myself as co-chair, along with Dr. Solik from Access, to the substance abuse task force. So we have our hands in quite a bit of what ails Arizona and really the nation, and we have quite a large charge, and I absolutely love my job.
Well, and that just shows through every time I speak with you. We've known each other for a long time, but have really just started working together a little bit in the last year. Worked a lot on human trafficking, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But when you talk, having been in the state Senate, when you talk about the issues that you just laid out, a lot of the problems Arizonans experience fall into the categories that you just highlighted. Yeah. Yes. And it's stuff that we would love to try to prevent. And I know you're sort of the tip of the sword in doing that. You want to talk a little bit about how many employees do you have, and kind of how do you get them out in the field and doing what they need to do to help families in Phoenix and in Arizona?
So I'm a staff currently of about 18. I think there are a couple additional a lot of volunteers that are coming in through internships very soon to support our work. But again, most of our funding, we work with nonprofits and coalitions to provide funding, technical assistance, support, and resources, primarily through a competitive grant process. So I always encourage the community who may be eligible for this type of funding and support to make sure that they are on Procure AZ and watching for the releases of these competitive grants.
And so that money can get redistributed to, like, for example, you were the head of a nonprofit for 16 years, so nonprofits can apply?
Yes, nonprofits and many of our state coalitions. We have, for example, prevention coalitions all over the state of Arizona who typically we just have a grant funding cycle that just ended for parent commission dollars. That's just an example. So parent commission dollars are the tax on spirituous liquor, and through statute, we have that funding stream that comes to us. We issued a competitive request for grant application that's now ended. Those grants are being reviewed and will be allocated to provide prevention education soon throughout the state of Arizona. That's just one example of many grant opportunities, but I love what I heard you say, Jen, which is why I want to get up and come to this job every day. Yes, we need to take care of victims. It's important, but why I want to come to work every day is on upstream, the prevention side of all of this, the systemic changes that need to happen, particularly where substance abuse intersects absolutely all of these councils and commissions and work. That's why I want to come to work every day.
I really appreciate that, because nobody ever likes anything I say. It seems like if I read my emails anyway as any kind of guide. But I appreciate that. But it is true, anybody who's worked in the kind of jobs that we're in, and you have a long history as a teacher too, as well as in the nonprofit, so you've been working with young people throughout your career, lengthy history there. You know, it is shocking. I just reflect on the statistics that I've been privy to over the course of my career about how correlated substance abuse or alcoholism is with our prison population, right, with CPS cases that people read about in the papers. Yes. It's not 100%, but it's certainly a very high correlation of the folks who are having really serious issues that land them in prison or in the system, broadly stated. A lot of times it's really, a lot of it comes down to choices that were made, that maybe we can incentivize people to not make going forward, and to modify their behavior, to change their behavior. It's amazing that you've had such success getting so many federal dollars back here to Arizona, to work on this task. Can you give us maybe some examples of some things that you've worked on that have really led to great success?
Well, we have two new initiatives that we're working on from our agency right now. One of which will be the ability to take prevention dollars, where we've created a middle school prevention pilot program. We've spoken to every superintendent across the state of Arizona. We're asking for their participation in this upcoming pilot, which engages and really would work to provide prevention education to parents, to their youth, to their community and school. It's really trying to change school culture and climate. We read so much about protective factors today, and school climate and connectedness with our youth and families is so important. There are many things that this new pilot would accomplish. We're also working with ASU to provide the evaluation of this pilot program. I would tell you that absolutely every grant that comes through our agency, we've taken a fresh set of eyes and a fresh look this past year at where we can streamline and prioritize with our eye on prevention, early intervention, even our AmeriCorps grant. We've streamlined and prioritized focus areas, with substance abuse being one. Back to your earlier statement, you talked about the connection to the prison population, DCS. Just some of those actual numbers, Jim, are 85%.
It's staggering.
There is a self-report by families coming into DCS that 85% have a past 30-day substance use. 77% of our male population self-report a substance abuse issue, with 89% of the females reporting a substance abuse issue. So I'm really looking upstream. What can we do? We know that 90% of all addiction occurs, Jim, during the teen years. So where should we focus?
When we were talking earlier, I think you said first experimentation with marijuana typically happens about age 13?
13 years, 7 months. And all of the data and research is in on that, Jim, with brain development, the development of our youth and social, emotional, and coping skills. That's a critical time for kids to be introducing substances into their lives. The first drink on average by Arizona youth is 12 years, 9 months.
I mean, it's just, when you say it like that, it is just shocking when I think, it's been 30 years now, I hate to admit it, since I graduated from high school, but I just remember how prevalent everything you're talking about was back then. And I've seen the statistics kind of rise and fall over the years. I think smoking is down. I think it's kind of gone up and down like the tide, but it's down a little bit now. I know that's always been considered maybe the #1 gateway.
That's correct.
I'm guessing it still is. It sounds like that is, yep. And then alcohol, I'm sure, is #2, and I'm guessing marijuana is #3. Is that a fair?
So actually, pretty darn accurate. In Arizona, Alcohol and cigarette use is actually the same age, 12 years, 9 months. Then, this one will surprise you, the third substance, even before marijuana, is prescription drugs.
Wow.
Look what's happened with us. And then
Which
marijuana.
would have been probably non-existent the 30 years ago that I'm talking about. Drug use was very prevalent, but that's a new one that's been introduced here in the last 20 years, really.
But think about that too, Jim. That all occurs, it's not even a year from first use to an escalation. Herein lies the problem. What can we do to reach parents, by the way? They're a huge piece in this prevention. The parents, the youth, and then the school climates, those who are with our kids for 8 hours a day. What can we all do collectively to impact those first use and those critical years? That's what I'm working on.
I remember my high school, you had to walk through the big smoking area outside with the students and the teachers. How times have changed from the bus to get inside the building. That was what you walked through every day. I remember my jacket always, my poor Letterman jacket always smelled like smoke because you had to walk through all that. You know, we have made changes that I think are making that kind of thing less acceptable, less readily available to youth. But boy, you are absolutely right about dealing with parents, because of course you can't always count on people at the age group that you're talking about, 12, 13, 14, to make the best and most informed decisions, particularly when peer pressure is involved. But it's great that you're trying to change the climate at school, because I have seen statistics, and this is over a rather extended period of time, about, you know, regular drug use, I think specifically marijuana, had declined among high schoolers. Is that still the case, or is it? And I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't know that specific statistic. Yeah.
Actually, marijuana use is creeping up, and here's why. Think of what we've messaged to youth in the last couple of years. First of all, we've now messaged as adults, and we were in the position to control this message, Jim, that marijuana is medicine. The second possible message, which I hope does not occur on our adult watches this time, is that this medicine, we can party with it. Why would we not then believe that we can party with any medicine when we open these doors to our youth? I really am asking more adults, including myself, let's be the adult in the room. Let's message the right healthy choices to our youth. They're looking to us for protection and boundaries. Like every adult watching your show, to show up, help me message to every youth in Arizona what healthy, appropriate boundaries are. And let's protect them. It's on our watch as adults to do that.
Well, and I wish I had the study with me. It was probably a decade ago. I saw a figure that 25% of the type of teenagers, not necessarily that age, but certainly in high school, or I think it was just generally, the first time they use marijuana is with their parent. That was a quarter of the people. And I just think of how impressionable I was. My wife and I were actually speaking about this the other night, just in general, how much of an impression your parents make on you. And I just think, take an example, I'm a White Sox fan because my dad was a White Sox fan and we enjoyed the games and stuff. It would be hard for me to not root for him at this point because it was something that got inculcated when I was a kid. That's right. But that sounds silly, but if the message was drugs are okay coming from a parent, it really sanctions it more than any, really, to my mind, church or government agency or anything else could undo, you know, because your parents doing it, so that's what you do, because that's what you model.
You are so very right again. And think about that. At the age we discussed, Jim, that these kids start in Arizona, right? And then so here's another statistic of fact, if you will. For kids who do start at that age, 1 in 6 will now go on to become a full-blown addict. That does mean the 5 won't. Doesn't mean that those 5 don't face some other type of consequences, but 1 will. Right now, on a daily basis, people call on our agency. They're looking for increased funding for prevention, especially treatment and recovery. And I am just saying to adults, there's not enough money to treat addiction now. We know that in a given year across the nation, there are likely around 22 million people who have full-blown addiction. 10% of those in our nation receive treatment a year. Let that sink in.
20 million, you're talking just short of 10%. You know, I've heard Michael Crow from ASU speak about this. We were out at Mayo Clinic for an event, and he was talking about people just don't realize what that costs us as a society. What all the money that we're spending on this in lost wages, broken families, running agencies like yours, the federal government, everybody, you know, trying to work together to fight this problem. You know, missing days at work, just all the things it costs employers. All that pooled together, he said that is just a societal, I wish I could remember his phrasing, but he said it's just really a societal calamity because so many resources that could go to K through 12 or the university system for something else, to study something else, you know, doesn't happen because we have to address this situation. And as you just pointed out, if only 10% of people are getting the treatment that they need, then all the money that we are spending on the treatment is really salmon swimming upstream. I mean, it's hard to make that work. So it's just it's frustrating and depressing to hear. I'm so grateful that you're willing to take on this work and your agency is trying to make things better. But here in you know, speaking Arizona specific, do we have a worse problem than other states? Or are we in the middle? I know people talk about, you know, the border and the easy transportation potentially, but I don't know if that impacts it like you might expect.
Well, it certainly does. On any given year, you would see Arizona's ranking for drug transshipment 1, 2, or 3 in the nation. You know,
not surprising probably to most viewers given where we're located geographically.
That's exactly right. So the way I've spoken to the governor and the administration about this is thrilled to see the new border strike force, which really is meant to continue to keep drugs from coming into Arizona. Thrilled about that. I made sure though that I expressed how, I'm going to use the most simplistic analogy, whack-a-mole. I'm so glad that we are whacking that border mole to keep those drugs from coming in. However, in Arizona and across the nation, let's just take heroin, for example.
Which is getting a lot of publicity right now. You know, it's definitely been in the news more than I can remember in really my lifetime.
National epidemic. We know that almost 50% of heroin users are also, they'll switch to painkillers. So think about that, play that out. If we dry up a supply at the border, which we need to do, but we also then need to make sure that we are closing the loopholes and over-prescribing and access here in Arizona. Because, you know, again, half of the users will just simply switch to the pill form of an opioid. So we have to be multi-strategic, which is ramping up more prevention programming to our youth and their families. Early intervention. Our agency has an amazing federal grant right now called SBIRT that I'm such a fan of. SBIRT, excuse me, stands for Screening, Brief Intervention, Referral to Treatment. I'd like to see that grant right now is managed to an adult population. I'm looking to see that in many more settings in Arizona, because so often we hear, we should have known there was a problem with that youth. Everyone sort of knew there was a problem, but we didn't intervene, and we certainly didn't provide services to get that kid help. So, you know, again, prevention, early intervention, ramping up treatment and recovery, access to treatment and recovery. There's so much that we can do, but we have to address them all.
Well, we've seen, you know, heartbreaking stories, not just in my district, but certainly throughout Arizona, again, with kids getting really the hardcore drugs. Mm-hmm. But we had a town hall, veterans town hall, Senator McCain came down to City Hall the other day, and one of the veterans stood up because it addresses an issue that you talked about. He was a disabled veteran from Vietnam, and he said, you know, I got prescribed all these medications that they're now trying to phase out on me. You know, it's just, I'm pleased to see very recently, just in the last week or so, I'm sure you've seen the same things, the FDA talking about how we got to be careful about prescribing all these medicines and so forth, and frankly, getting people hooked. People who have legitimate illnesses, weren't asking for this, but this is what their doctor prescribed. And at least when I was growing up, very similar to the parent. You respected the doctor, and you didn't question the doctor, and you didn't say what are the long-term. You assumed they sort of knew what they were doing. Not to blame doctors, but certainly some of this has really proliferated again in the last 20 years. It started out as legitimate usage and then spun off. Certainly whenever you read, and I've read quite a few articles and studies about this, the heroin epidemic, it started off with someone who had back pain or something, was middle class and not doing drugs, and then all of a sudden now their life is just a wasteland. And it's something we have to address because it's not acceptable. It's too many people.
Yeah, it's a shame. Again, you're correct. I can't tell you. I've been in the trenches with this issue, Jim, for years. And how many individuals I've worked with that did exactly what you just described. Started off with legitimate pain, and it just became chronic. It's a very difficult drug to wean off of. When you even think of the side effects from a painkiller in particular that may have been going to pain or ultimately isn't, it actually produces achiness and pain in the body from its use, from its prescribed use. So it's become a national epidemic. I went to a 50-state heroin convening on behalf of the administration recently, and there are some top strategies, and Arizona is working toward employing all of them to reduce this epidemic here in our state. And actually we have it's called a prescription misuse and abuse toolkit that's been developed here in Arizona. It was a pilot in 3 counties, had great strategic outcomes, so it's being implemented and rolled out statewide now.
Well, it is tough. I mean, for the folks who are addicted, it is not an easy journey back. I was just talking to a person I've known for a long time who had an issue, again, with painkillers, started off with chronic pain and just worked its way up to a full-blown addiction. Going through rehab and everything. I mean, it was really, really tough. His family is very blessed because so far he's gotten through it successfully, but he described the symptoms and so forth, and holy cow. So it's going to take a lot of effort on the government's part. It's also, a lot of effort on individuals' part when you throw in people who have broken families, perhaps facing prison time and so forth. It's a lot to ask. I know when I was at the legislature, we tried to focus on getting treatment. I think I was just reading Ohio is focusing a lot more on getting the folks in their prison population, sober so they can face the reality when they get out and get a job and show up on time and everything. But it is a overarching problem, and we're just grateful for all the work because you've, like you said, you've been in the trenches on this a long time, and we really appreciate it. I did want to switch gears so that we had time to talk about human trafficking. So you are, maybe you can describe your role with the Human Trafficking Task Force. You are the staff director. Is that a way to say it?
So actually, my role, our agency staffs the Human Trafficking Council, of which you are an amazing member. So thank you for your work. You also you've been working on this issue for years with City of Phoenix as well. City of Phoenix has taken a lead for quite some time, and you have some great outcomes to report, as well as the state and the Governor's Council to End Human Trafficking. That's, as you know, co-chaired by Mrs. Cindy McCain and Gil Orentia, Director Orentia of Homeland Security. I've been most impressed with the individuals on these council and many
it's
of
a fantastic group, really a fantastic
unbelievable. I actually received a call a week ago from NPR. They were inquiring as to some of the stats of Arizona and really starting to see Arizona's leadership on this. Arizona setting state protocols, a victim-centered policy versus arrest and incarceration. So many good things for the council.
These people are so young. I mean, think about the decisions we're talking about. People using marijuana and drugs at age 13, But a lot of these people, predominantly young women, but people in general who start in this life are 12. And I would ask the viewers out here, how many of us were making our own, decisions to go into, I guess, theoretically a life of crime at age 12? That's more reflection on the home life and everything. And so they are rightfully considered victims to my mind. So I appreciate you saying that.
They are, and I'm so glad you raised that, because I will tell you, our agency did just a small community focus group. And I learned very quickly, Jim, that perception still existed for far too many of them. But when we went back and reminded this group of community moms that very often these young individuals, both boys and girls, were brought in at ages of 12 and 14.
I think the average is like 14.
14.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It did change their perception, and that's the piece through all of this, Jim. I think not enough people think about. They think about a 30-year-old, not realizing that these choices were very often forced upon teenagers or adolescents.
We had one victim who was talking about the things she was forced to do when she was 14, and she's out of the life now and has her own family, but it was predominantly relatives who were forcing her into this, and she's like, what were they thinking? I was 14 years old. I didn't think about me. I think I was maybe a freshman in high school when I was 14, just think about trying out for the football team or whatever. I mean, it's just, some people aren't living that life, and I appreciate, again, your agency doing everything it can and the task force to try to affect this. Phoenix has tried to take a lead. We've had a lot of police activity and so forth, but we are trying to make sure these victims get the help that they need, and that the people who are abusing these kids, because these are kids, generally speaking, the people who are abusing them get hit with the full force of the law. Your task force has law enforcement as well as public and private sector leaders on it, as does ours. Cindy McCain has joined our task force. So we're really proud to be working with you. I should give a shout out to Mayor Stanton, because he's the one who put it together. We're getting ready for the Super Bowl, but we wanted to make sure we followed the state's lead and kept going, because this is a day-to-day activity. It really is shocking when you see the statistics about how prevalent it is.
It's been a great partnership, and I would also add that another great partnership has been on domestic violence. So the Lighting Arizona Purple campaign was a continuation to reach the state, but it was leveraged on the work done here in Phoenix around the Paint Arizona Purple. So it's been a great partnership working with the city of Phoenix on domestic violence as well.
Well, and I wish we could go on. Unfortunately, we're almost out of time. But Debbie, I thank you so much for being here. I think this is an important message for our viewers to see, and I hope they also pass along some of these statistics and some of the things we're facing here in Arizona. But your work has been invaluable. I can't thank you enough for being here today. And thank Governor Ducey for allowing you to come today,
My
too.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. If you have any questions or comments, please call my office at 602-262-7445 or visit my website at phoenix.gov/district2. And we look forward to seeing you next time on The Issues.